LFC Daytrippers, brought to you by bookmakers.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 on the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, and this week with me, as always, Emma, Keith, and Shawnee. It's the last Fatback 4 of the season. Season 22-23 is over. Sponsored by bookmakers.com. Check out the website for all your analysis. Everything is on there. Everything is on there. And if you gamble, do so responsibly. All the odds on all the sports from all the bookmakers. Tonight, we're going to talk about, the season 22-23, how we felt going into it, how it turned out. We're going to talk some players, some highs, some lows, and then we're going to look forward to the summer and what we hope to get done in the summer, looking forward to 23-24. Keith, how are you?
Gavin, I'm great, good. How are you?
I'm recovering.
I always like to throw this back at you, you see.
Yeah, I'm recovering a little bit. I was at a charity function last night for breast cancer research. The ladies running the marathon were doing their it was a whole day of stuff they done. It was ridiculous how much they put in, but it culminated in a karaoke night, Keith, and I know you're fond of them.
Big fan, yeah.
Yeah, there was karaoke. There was a bit of Maniac going on as well at one stage, which the place was on wheels. And I'm just recovering from it. Oisin says Gav voice isn't well. Just a great night we had. I only sang 2 songs.
Yeah, Maniac 2000 went on for about 25 minutes, being one of
them. But no, really good night. And the girls and everyone that supported them yesterday, like there were so many people down there supporting them yesterday. They were doing a blitz of football blitz. They were selling stuff. They were doing all sorts of stuff. And around €8,000 they raised yesterday for breast cancer research. So that's going to go in on top of the total. So we're once the golf day is up, we'd be closing in on that 20 grand. A lot of these girls didn't think was possible at the start, but I kept telling them, stick with it, you'll get there. But brilliant day organised by them. I'm recovering now after it, but I'll be brand new tomorrow. I'll be grand. Shawnee, how are you?
I won. Yeah. Bit of crack. Great weekend. Great weather again. Brilliant weather this weekend in Dublin, so made the most of that. Was out today for the football, and I have to say, barring the Bournemouth goal, it's probably the best crack you can have Jack Lowe's on. just watching
everyone hanging on for their lives.
It just made it not us for the change. People in utter despair, young fellas crying and all that. I was delighted because they got a bit spiky in the Camden when we played Leeds in October. I had a few mates over from Liverpool and I had them in there. And I had Irish Leeds fans bringing out the mortars and the bin dippers out in the middle of the pub in Dublin. So I was fucking embarrassed by that sort of, but you know what they say, what goes around comes around like a hula hoop. So absolutely fuck them cunts. And I hope they enjoyed the championship next year. And I made sure to let them know today because there was a few of them in there crying into that point. So they got a few little loose one. I was like Mr. Bean, I was going down the camera today at the end of the year. But no, it was a bit of crack.
Someone there has asked me, have I checked on Joe Wayman, the Leeds fan? I haven't checked on Joe. Me theory on that is to leave Joe till tomorrow. As much as Sean, he fucking hates Leeds.
But don't hate Leeds at all. Just
well, look, I'll leave Joe till tomorrow. Joe's a top fella, but I'll check in on him tomorrow. Emma, how are you?
Good, yeah. Enjoyed, but kind of bittersweet today. Do you know what I mean? With nothing, you weren't really worried about your game, but then you see And I know so many other things could have changed, but Newcastle draw the last two. If we had just won our last two, things could be a whole lot different. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was nice to not be worrying about the last day. But would have been nice to actually be worrying as well, if you get me. So
Yeah, look, we had a week to well, not a week because Newcastle and United played during the week, but we had a couple of days to set ourselves up for who gives a bollocks about Southampton against Liverpool. It turned out to be a belting game, and we're not going to go into it on this show because the lads covered it brilliantly after the game, as they've always done. And big shout out to them for all the full-time Reds they've done this season, because it hasn't been an easy job. But Chris, Matt and Kev have stuck at it diligently since last August, and they'll be back next year to do it again, but hopefully it's a little bit easier for them next year. Keith, season 22-23, we come into it. There's an awful lot of talk around midfielders and all that sort of stuff, but when you think back, were you going into it as a season of, what could we do here? Confident, excited, like you are any season? Or,
Yeah.
because we're close to quadruple, and then it's back to the bread and butter.
Yeah, I'm always an optimist, and if I'm not going to be a revisionist now and saying I thought we'd struggle around. I was one of the fools that thought me and Jurgen were like, no, these lads will do the business for us. We have 9 of them, not a bother. Arthur Mello, lovely jubbly, we'll have him as well. Didn't work out that way. We went in, we done a bit of business in the summer, not too much. Big one being Darwin Núñez. I was excited. I was looking forward to seeing it. From the first minute that lad came in pre-season, it was like a never-ending battle because he missed a couple of sitters in his first game. So I was on the defensive nearly for Darwin from the very start. And, I was thinking to myself, on the back of a treble, on the back of a season where they're going for a treble, or a quadruple, on the back of the season at that, and missing it just the way we did, I thought, right, the midfield is a worry, but if all these lads stay fit, then we do have a good chance. Didn't last long. I'm not going to lie, it didn't last long. But we start the season off with the Charity Shield, and, we don't count it as a trophy, but, some teams do. If we want to throw that, chalk that one in. I remember Jose Mourinho famously including it in a treble for Manchester United, and their fans lapping that up. But we won't be so petty as to do that around these parts. But I just thought, we go into that game, I think Núñez looks good when he comes on. It's exciting. Then we roll into the season, Gav, and then the sort of bubble burst fairly quickly, at the start of the season. So I was optimistic going in, and all the stuff that people more intelligent than me, 3 is on screen here, were probably more skeptical about it than I was, and everything that we thought could go wrong sort of goes wrong fairly quickly, and the season gets away from us, and we're going to go through it all. But to start it off with positivity, and it's ending, get in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Get out of town that 22-23 season. But look, I can't lie and say I was worried from the start, because I was one of the fools that thought, no, we'll be okay. So what do I know? Nothing.
Shawnee, the Community Shield is touched on there, and I think it's actually a really good marker for the season when you look back at it, because Liverpool do this, I think, all season, where they show up one week and they're fucking blitzing the team, and then if you look at the Charity Shield and Fulham, I thought they were really good in the Charity Shield. The 2 best teams in the country going at it. Liverpool just looked full of energy. They were brave. They took their chances. Then you look at Fulham and they looked lethargic. They were overrunning midfield. There was mistakes at the back. And that, I think them 2 games probably encapsulate the season when you actually look at it, because we seem to batter a team and then go 3 or 4 where we just looked rudderless. And then we batter someone, maybe get a couple of wins, rudderless again. So were you as excited after the Charity Shield and then worried in equal measure after the Fulham game as to what's way the season to go?
Yeah, I think that perfectly sums it up for everyone. But the thing that worried me was the first game of the season against Fulham. And I was like, we look leggy from the off here. And that can happen. Sometimes teams don't get up to full speed in a season till the end of September, start of October, but you just kind of pick up points, and then but we looked like leggy. It wasn't a case of this being rust. Like, there was teams running all over us. I go to the first game of the season against Palace at home. They run all over us. And then we beat Bournemouth 9-0, and you're thinking, oh, we turned the corner, and then it's another game, they run all over us. But I kind of, as the season goes along, Gav, you look at everything in microcosm and you just study it as a thing. But I think I read up earlier because I just didn't want to think to myself that fucking, you're making that up in your head. I did like a bit of research before the show there when I was just sitting around waiting to come on. And I think it actually starts from pre-season. I think Klopp makes an admittance that we way overdid it in pre-season. We played twice as many games as any other team in pre-season. If you don't remember, that Charity Shield game is literally City's second pre-season game. They only had played one game before that. Whereas we done a full pre-season. We had players, like he was running the bollocks out of players in Switzerland not shortly after a small break, and not forgetting that we literally played every single game possible the seasons previous. And then when you top that, when you look at that on top of the window that we do, the players that we bring in the summer, like, it was a cacophony of errors, and the season played out that way. Like, when you look back on the transfer window and the players we brought in, we do Darwin Núñez, who everyone, fair enough, is excited about. Forget about the fee. But we do Darwin Núñez, we do Fabio Carvalho, we do Calvin Ramsey, and then we do Arthur Melo. And that was never going to be enough. And that's the way it played out. We were chasing our tails for the whole season. And then we show a little bit of form coming into the break before the World Cup, thinking we might be able to turn it around here and somewhat rescue the season, because if it opens back up then in January and you can make a couple of signings, who fucking knows? And we never got going. We looked tired the whole season. I remember going through, I remember how frustrated I got on shows on here, and there was just so many games that we were drawing 0-0 or losing 1-0, and I'm thinking, our games even we had won. I think we beat Newcastle 2-1 at Anfield, and I was saying to you in the show, like, we could have easily lost that game. We could have easily drew that game. The games we drew, we could have easily won that game. We could have easily lost that game. There was just too many 50-50 games. We didn't dominate games of football at all. We do okay in Europe. Yeah, we go through. We make it really fucking difficult for ourselves, as we normally do. I think it's failure across the board. Like, if you want to just put it down to one thing, you can't. I think this season was failure across the board by the recruitment, by Klopp himself, the manager, his inability to change, and a thing that I don't really like saying, because it's not like nice, and I don't like doing it, but too many of our big players let us down in this early stage of the season. I remember fucking having a massive row with Keith on here about Mo Salah and how he shouldn't be subjected to this, and then only 3 days later, 3 days ago, people are saying, "Oh, you don't deserve this, Mo." Yeah, well, he fucking does. Like, his tweets coming out and putting out pictures in black and white shouldn't be glossed over for the fact he scored a shed load of goals and got a shed load of assists in the back end of the season. He was really poor in the first half of the season. I've no problem admitting that. Some players never turned the corner. Virgil being one, Hendo being one, Fabinho was fucked all season, which has to be forgiven, because I think it may have been him that had that child. We've already discussed that. So our big hitters never turned up, Gav, to be honest with you. And this is not a fucking dig out and saying I want 10 in and 10 out. Like, you know what I mean? I think Klopp is equally to blame. I think Klopp had an awful season in terms of his decision making on and off the pitch. So I'm with Keith. I'm fucking delighted the season is over. There's reasons to be optimistic, I think, with how we finish up the season. I think we win 9 out of the last 10, is it? Oh, well, 8 wins in the last 10.
9.
7 wins, 4 draws.
Yeah. There's green shoots there, but look, it's been a tough season, and one where there's accountability to be held across the board, and it should be. It's not like fucking the 2021 season when you're going, a load of injuries and we'd be grand. like major surgery is now needed. And based on what Klopp said today, when he's normally fucking dying to get out the door and go on his holiday and forget about football, he said, no, my work literally starts tomorrow. I'm going to be on I'll have a lot of work to do. And it's not the side, he even said it's a different side of the game, but I'm going to have to be on it. So major surgery is needed. Whether that's going to happen, who knows? But a tough season. But to be honest with you, some great shoots and some great moments within between. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, we'll go again. I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Emma, Seany mentioned something there, and it's when you start to mention this, people go bananas. But it's midfield. And we done shows in the summer, and we are trying to talk about who we need. Now, everyone agreed we needed midfielders. I think people got very upset at the fact that Arthur Mello ended up being the midfielder that we signed, because it's like, hold on, you know what I mean? We're being told 1 minute that you have to get the right player in, and then this guy just arrives on a loan. But we know midfield didn't perform. Is that the one area where you think, look, I've seen Van Dijk not be good this season. I've seen Kanate being on and off it. Robertson the same. Trent most definitely. Even the forwards then, like Salah. If Salah had a score today, he would have been the only player to score 20.
Separate seasons.
Yeah, 3 separate seasons to have 20 goals and 10 plus assists. Him and Henry own that record at the moment. But even the forward, you were seeing problems, and we'll get on to Gakpo because I think he's a huge talking point when we're looking at the summer. But was that the main one for you, Emma? Because it increasingly growed in my mind that the midfield issue was having a knock-on everywhere, and we are seeing it throughout the season. And there's a point too, like Seany said there, Klopp's work starts tomorrow. He needs to be looking at midfield and going, if I want this defence and attack to be able to function, I have to get this midfield right, because people have been talking about it all season, Emma. Every show we do, midfield gets mentioned.
Look, I think it all started with the whole Tchouaméni, and then he decided to go to Real Madrid, and then all of a sudden we moved for Darwin Núñez, and it was like, well, surely we still have to get a midfielder. And I think what the kind of wheels came off when Ox gets injured in the first pre-season friendly, and then Keita gets injured in the Community Shield, and I have a feeling that they had planned on getting about 30-40 million for them, and that's what was to go towards a midfielder. And like you said, then we end up with Arthur Mello. But Klopp, don't forget, and again, not going in on him, but he is to blame for a lot of things this season as well. He said we didn't need a midfielder, and then decides at the 11th hour that, oh, I was wrong, we do need a midfielder, and then that's how we wind up with Arthur Mello. But you're right, the midfield has a knock-on effect. Where leggy, Fabinho obviously didn't have legs. He's somewhat returned later on in the season. Henderson looked leggy. They all looked leggy. So what happens there is they're not covering Trent in his previous position for getting forward. So it has a knock-on effect on him. It has a knock-on effect on the forwards as well. As like if they lose that ball, it's going to go straight through midfield and onto the defence. We said that Van Dijk didn't look great, but again, they weren't really getting much protection. So it all kind of centered around the midfield. And I don't know why we probably didn't try something that we've tried in the last 11, 12 games earlier on in the season. I know we tried 4-2-3-1 and that, and we actually had a bit of success, but then kept going back. And Seany on show said 4-3-3. We just keep playing the same thing over and over again. Why didn't we try it earlier on in the season? Did we not have the bodies to do it? Or like, do you know what I mean? So I just think we should have maybe tried something earlier on in the season, like we have done for the last 11 games. Maybe we wouldn't have been able to play for more than 11 games, and maybe that's why he left it so late in the season. But wouldn't it have been great to go on a run of 11 games in the middle of the season, which gives players that little bit of a boost and maybe get that bit of energy back? I was, just to go back on the previous one, I went into the season, Keith, exactly the same as you. I thought we were going to run riot in the league, honestly. And I wasn't even too bothered by the Fulham game, because I'm one for, I hate playing a newly promoted side in first game of the season. It was more the Crystal Palace game and then the United game. That's when I started thinking, hang on a second, what's going on? This is it wasn't just a blip against Fulham. But I think, look, we were run ragged through midfield. The midfield, without doubt, has been the biggest problem this season. And we pulled it back slightly towards the end of the season. And look, for the team that were absolute dirt for most of the season, we literally wound up only 4 points off top four. So
Okay.
I've no worries about next season.
I think, well, I have worries over next season, but we'll get on to them in a minute. But I think it's a really good point about the pre-season stuff, the lack of rest we get, and then the amount of games we play. But I think Klopp's reasoning behind that, I think we might have talked about it at the time, was he wanted to get them to a speed where they weren't lagging coming out of the traps. I think he looked at it as 16 games, I think it was, before the World Cup, and he wanted to absolutely march into the season and lash a load on the board and see what comes off the back of the World Cup. But it simply was wrong when we look back at it, and it just turned out to be wrong because the players just, he couldn't get them to an optimum, and then they were struggling from there on in. And it's a really good point about the amount of games, and maybe look at it different. People are asking about pre-season this season. I think we're out to Singapore again. From two games in Singapore, but that's about it. That's all that's been said so far. I can see them go.
Did everybody here think that at the time that we played too many? Because I honestly thought we played too few.
No, I thought there was a few games there where I thought, fuck, there's a lot going on here. And I think the fact that he went
the day after the Charity Shield.
Yeah, that was a bit mad. And Canati, look, you can throw it either way. I think that the length of the season we had, the amount of games, you might have had a bit of concern, but at the same time, I always try to look at it as from both points of view. I could sit there and go, there's too many games, but when you're looking at the manager of Liverpool, who's obviously okay with these games, you're thinking, and I think he said it, he's trying to get us to a level where we feel we're just a notch above people with regards to the intensity we have in our game, and we can go and push them right at the World Cup.
He's since admitted that it was the wrong approach.
Yeah, but that's absolutely fine. Yeah,
hindsight 2020 and all that.
Yeah, and look, there's always hindsight in it, but in fairness to him, he's fairly honest in his assessment of things. He was even honest in his assessment of the midfield issue. When he said, "Yeah, people were right. I needed another one" and stuff like that. And I think this season has probably, with the departures that have happened now after the last day of the season in midfield. With what's gone on this season, I think he will look and go, do you know what? Yeah, if I thought I was a little bit wrong last season, I can't be that wrong again this season because it's affecting so much in front of them. Keith, let's talk some positives, right? I'm going to go around the table. Keith, then Seany, then Emmet. Give me a positive player-wise this season for you. And I'm going to just nip off and get a drink because I don't know what I sound like. I'm in a jocker here.
You sound great.
No, I don't. I have to get a drink.
Positive player wise.
Yeah, go on.
I won't take Gakpo, right? I'll take Bajcetic. I think the introduction of Bajcetic at a time when we desperately needed somebody in that midfield because of the Fabinho problem that we were having, and the Henderson problem, let's be clear as well. We needed somebody that could go into that midfield and could play as a six. And when the thought of Bajcetic at the time, an 18-year-old kid who, he doesn't look filled out, he doesn't look the biggest lad, and it was like, I don't know. He was the one that was the biggest plus point for me in the season. Now, he only plays, how many games he played? 10, 11 games? Gets injured and goes out. But I just thought his introduction into the team, while in one hand, it was like, I love to see a young lad coming in and making a difference in a Liverpool team. It's always a good point, even though like Curtis Jones at the end of the season sort of comes in and plays his way in. But I think at that time, we didn't sign a midfielder in January, and we were all up in arms over that. We're like crestfallen. Seany said it a million times on shows. If we sign a midfielder, we can go on and even challenge for the title at that stage. And that's how we felt. And that's, we're not going to change our opinions on that. I agreed with him 100%. We didn't do it, but we got Bajcetic in and he stabilised that midfield, and he even played as an 8 as well, and thought he was excellent in games. And his introduction, I don't think he's going to save us a fortune in the sense that we're still going to go out and buy midfield players, but I think he's forced himself into the reckoning now for next season. I think we said it last week on the show, his injury maybe came at a timely time as well, because it pulled him out of the limelight. It took him out of the he finishes this season with positives. And he can go off now, recover, have a pre-season, and put himself into contention for next year. I just think he was a player that came, at a time when we desperately needed somebody into that midfield, and the youthful exuberance. I mean, we spoke about it, the Newcastle goal. I think it's Gakpo's goal, is it? And it comes. He takes it off Alisson under pressure in his own half, and he's looking for the ball. It's not like it's just Hiram. He's looking for the ball, and he's getting out of pressure. He's a very Spanish player. He's got that sort of fearlessness in midfield. Give me the ball. And he just looked in that period of time like a player that we needed to not rescue our season, but just to say, right, I was always scratching my head why we signed Gakpo in January when we needed a midfielder. And he came along and it's like, okay, we can probably get through a few games with this. And then as the season goes on, Emmet touched on there, we finished it strongly and we got whatever wins out of the last so many games. But I just think for me, he was the one that's impressed me. The obvious one, I'm sure someone else will talk about, Cody. But for me, at that time, Bajcetic was the bright spark. And I look forward to seeing how he develops in the coming years.
It's funny now because Bajcetic isn't really involved in this when I don't think he is at all when Trent starts to wander into this midfield position. And when we were at the game last week when I was watching against Villa, and I actually would have loved to see Bajcetic in there instead of Fabinho, because Fabinho in that game to me looked like, yeah, he's not as bad as he was earlier in the season, and that's not saying much, but the snap has gone out of him. That game was actually made for him a couple of seasons ago where Villa sit back, balls break out in that middle third of the pitch, and he's just on them, wins them, gets Liverpool going again. He didn't seem to. Bajcetic gets injured. He's gone. He was out for the season. He'll have a summer now, and someone says there you can't depend on him to be the rock that you build around and stuff like that. Owen says if Bajcetic is in the reckoning next season, that'll mean we're in trouble again. I don't agree with that, Owen, at all. I think, and sometimes I think when a player comes through like that, I think they get undervalued a little bit at the start. Curtis Jones gets it. Now, Curtis Jones had a very mixed Liverpool career so far. He's been really good in the last 10 or 11 games, but I think if Bajcetic came in the January for 30 million quid, people would be going, I can't believe he's out, can't wait for him to be back. But I do understand the bit where he can't be the rock you build it around, but he's definitely an option. And I think he's perfectly made if you're going to let Trent wander in there, because not only is he snaps into stuff and wins it, he has a brilliant range of passing. So he's actually another option there where if Trent can't see something, you give it to him, and he's not going to Fabinho it and play it wide or play a little short pass. He'll look to play a pass as well. I think he's been excellent. And I can't wait to see him playing for Liverpool again. And I think he looked deadly in that new jersey as well.
Yeah, I think the Europa League is, well, now none of us want to be in the Europa League. I think it'll be the likes of Bajcetic and even Ben Doak that will benefit from that. We'd like to think that we're not going to play leading strong teams. I don't, regardless of the group we're in. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to be playing all our big hitters in these games. And I'd like to see the likes of Bajcetic getting a good run of games. He's not going to be, I'm saying, if he's in the reckoning, it's a problem. I don't agree with that at all. I think there's young players there that you have to give a chance to. And maybe this is the perfect chance, perfect opportunity to do that. Like, we're not looking and, relishing the Europa League. But if I want to take a positive out of that, it's that I think Bajcetic can get minutes in there and we can really see his development. And I think he'd flourish in the European game.
Yeah, Zupdog says he's definitely a gem to have, but he needs to be used wisely. That's the fairest point of them all.
Yeah,
I think at the age he's at, you can't put too much on him, but don't downplay him either, if you know what I mean. Like, using him wisely, to me, the wisest way to use a player like that is to give him the surroundings that he deserves to be in. And I don't think he was in those surroundings last season. He's so many players around him that just weren't showing up. He's so many players that were out of form, legs are gone, and he was trying, and that's why he stood out. But I think he'd actually stand out in a team that's functioning. If you had, I don't know, if you want throw two midfielders in there that you sign, I think it'll actually, that's how you use him wisely. You put him in there with them players and see where he goes. Shawnee, are you taking Cody Gakpo? Yeah, go on.
I think Klopp said in his press conference about Bajcetic that it was actually the amount of games that he played that it ended up kind of nearly breaking down, that he was expected to play so many games. I think he played 19, Keith, 11 in the league, and then Europe he played 4.
Yeah. But look, But I don't think the break will do him any harm, and I think the fact that Liverpool are going to change things around, I think it'll help. Shawnee, are you taking Cody Gakpo?
No, I'm gonna leave Gakpo to Emmet.
Okay,
I'll leave Gakpo to Emmet. I'm gonna take Trent Alexander-Arnold in the back half of this season.
Okay.
And his sort of transformation. Now, at the same time, I do think that there's loads being made of it, but there's been definitely a change of tact or approach in terms of Trent. And I would have been one of these people who, well, like, he's fucking grand at right back, leave him there. He's been so productive, but he was doing things to teams in the last 10 games where you're thinking, right, maybe we've clipped this fella's wings a little bit by letting him just stay there. Yeah, he was super effective there. But yeah, I'm gonna go the use of Trent and the sort of evolution that we're seeing of him in that role, because I think I'm not gonna make this a race thing, but like, being a young black footballer in England has never been harder than it is now, and he's had fucking mental scrutiny in the opening half of the season. I actually thought he was piss poor in the opening half of the season. I questioned his attitude some games. I don't want to be vindicated in that, but I just think every time Trent's being kicked as a footballer, he's always found a way to come back stronger. And I think his omission from the World Cup squad, not playing, has really kicked him on. His numbers fucking out of this world at the back end of this season. It just really looks to suit him. And he's proved to me that he's a good enough player to build this team around. And I'm being deadly serious saying that. Whatever about budgeted saving a few quid, he's worth altering this system to fit him in, because on the ball, in attacking areas, he is one of the best creative players in world football. I actually think it's helped his defensive game even a little, because you see him a little bit more hurried to get back into position now, and it's just, I really do think this is the making of him and his future. He is the future of Liverpool.
Yeah.
Going forward, I believe he is that good. And it took him out of the spotlight. Klopp's not done a whole lot right this season, if I'm being honest with you. But his management of Trent in this situation has been absolutely fucking brilliant, because he's taken the pressure and the spotlight off him completely, because he gets roasted in both of them Champions League games against Vinicius Jr. And Klopp kind of goes, you know what? Fuck this now. I'm going to have to try something different. And he did. And it's paid off dividends so far. And I think with the right business being done in the summer, you'll see him come on again. Trent looked like he was 10 feet tall in the back end of the season. He looked rejuvenated. He looks like the fire was lit inside him again. And I think that can only be a good thing for Liverpool. His assist today is a joke. Like, it's ridiculous. Honestly, a pull-back volley across the box on a play for a defender after his bit of movement. I genuinely believe, like, everyone knows how much I love this kid. I love him as a right back. He's the best right back in Europe in terms of attacking sense in the last few years. But I do genuinely see this becoming the making of him. I do think sometimes out of all the shit like this, that can be positives. And I think Klopp's kind of being forced into a system now where he's had to kind of push him into that role now, and he's changed it. He's well able to play. He's well able to play in there. He showed he's mugged off Gary Neville by saying he can't play or he's back to play. We've seen him.
Yeah.
For me, that's how I'm building the future around Liverpool. People are saying about Alisson. That's not positive. That's just Alisson. That's always Alisson. Like, what can I say? If I knew players' years, I'm player of the year. That's just Alisson. But I do really feel like a lot of things that have been holding Trent back will now be taken away from those who use it against him. Because if he's not predominantly being used as a defensive right back in it, for people will only talk about the good in his game. And let's be honest, he's been fucking phenomenal at the back end. He really has. So in that case, I'm genuinely excited to see Trent grow in this role next year, because he's only going to get better at it as well. That's fact of the matter.
He only gets his first assist in January. I know there's a World Cup in the middle of the season, but the games were top loaded and all that. He only gets his first assist in January, and he's got about 7 in the last few weeks since he moved into midfield. He's been sensational. You're right, Shawnee. Him in there has just been a game changer, and I'd love to see him. I'm not saying I am saying it. Let's put him into midfield, because I'd love to see him without having to still worry about the right back. Do you know what I mean? Because I know Kanate does a lot of the covering over there, but I'd love to just see him focusing on the attacking side of the game with minimum defensive responsibilities, because he gets battered with that stick all the time. And I just think he is such a good passer of the ball and such a creative player. He's, as you said, he's making shipments out of Gary Neville, and we can all get behind that around here. But yeah, dead right. That change, that little tweak there has been an absolute top draw move. But yeah, first assist in January. And think of the numbers. I think he ends up with 9 assists, and I think he's the top for a defender. And he's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I think a lot of people questioned his ability to get back into his position when he was playing a more kind of regular right back role. But honestly, and I've said it a few times, I think he's actually running more now than he was when he was playing right back. It's just a different type of running. He was sprinting forward and expected to sprint. He's nearly expected to be in 2 places at once when he was playing in the right back position. But he's actually, I would say, if somebody looked it up, he's probably covering more ground, but just a different type of running. And he can still provide assists from the centre of the park. I think the move in there, again, I don't think I'd like to see him move into midfield, like a full-time midfield in a 4-3-3, because I think he loses space. It's the fact that he's kind of nearly cheating into the midfield is where the actual system works. But I hands up, I said his attitude was bad. He probably wasn't fit enough, or not fit enough, but he was probably too tired to get back. But he's been an absolute revelation the last 11 or so games.
Mike McCardle says Kenny Cunningham hates Trent in midfield. Not that it matters. Well, if Kenny Cunningham hates Trent in midfield, the first thing you do is you put Trent into midfield, because Kenny Cunningham is a fucking mongo, right? So the thing with Trent is, for me, his attitude stank at times. And Shawnee pulled him after the Bournemouth game when he scores a free kick, and Shawnee said he's wandering around here as if he's bleeding, Zico, and he's being poor. And that is definitely a part of this season. I think we've seen a change in it for a couple of reasons. I think he's one that suffers the most early on in the season. When Klopp, like we've said before, we wanted to change, do something different, but we kept rolling out the same formation and the same way of playing. And players' legs were gone, but mistakes were in them, nerves, loss of form, and Trent was still expected to do what Trent's been doing for 3 or 4 years solid. And he's one, I think, that suffers the most because of it. We needed a change to help a lot of players. It just happens that the change helps him the most, because his attitude, he just looked pissed off, and we're losing games and they're pulling him off and putting Milner on right back, and you're kind of going, he hasn't had a great game, but he seems to be the one where I was watching going, now they're asking him to go there, and you can actually see the hesitancy in him, where do I go, do I not, because I usually would, but I know we're not good going the other way now. And there was loads of that. His attitude wasn't great. I'm absolutely with that. Going into midfield, though, I wouldn't put him into midfield. Right? Well, do you know what? I wouldn't be against him going to midfield, but don't pay any attention to what Gary Neville says. But I would actually have him standing with his back to play for the 2 months of the summer and just keep hitting balls at him, because it's the only doubt I would have actually over him. Passing range, fine. Getting his foot in, we've seen him do it. But what would happen is, like you said, Emmet, he loses space, he goes into midfield, you would just have a player assigned to him to be up his arse every time Liverpool have the ball. And then it's about subtle movements in order to get away. And that's where he would have to go with that. We do cheat a little bit by him just wandering in there, right? But he has a direction in his game now. Get in there and play. But when we lose it, you need to go back there. That's what you do. You go back there. Because you know Salah's playing way wider now, and you know they're making him the outlet on that side rather than Trent and Salah going inside. So I'm not against anything happening with him, but if we're gonna cheat a little bit more, I'm absolutely fine with it. If you want to put him in midfield, yes, he's gonna lose space, but if he trains into it, what a player you have. Because if he can turn players, you know, with his back to goal and free up space, then he'll murder you. You know what I mean? That amount of assists in January is a joke from what is a right back. But yeah, I'll give him kudos for the second half of the season. Not so much for the first half, but I think it shows that I think it shows that there is definitely something there to work on. And again, a little bit like other players we've spoken about, get other players in around them and let them do their job. It actually makes his job a lot easier as well. So he's a good one. Come on, Emma, talk to me. Cody Gakpo,
yeah. Still divides opinion. Well, it does in one of my WhatsApp groups anyway. But when he first came in, we spoke round pegs and square holes and that kind of stuff. He was out left, he was in through the middle, and he nearly seems to have settled on this position now where he nearly kind of drops into the midfield slightly. Not necessarily exactly like Firmino, because I don't think anybody's ever going to be like Firmino. But he's just, and I say it all the time, he's very Dutch. It's very hard to get the ball off him. There was talk that he didn't have any pace. I think we've seen a turn of pace out of Gakpo. The way he picks up the ball and turns and just runs, I like the way he runs directly at the fences. I always say that if they're sitting back, just run at them. He's got, what was the stat we got before we came in 50 games this season between it's PSV, wasn't it, and Liverpool. He's got 20 goals and 20 assists.
Yeah.
7 for Liverpool. 7 goals, 3 assists. He's been used kind of nearly sparingly, but he's kind of one of the first names that I want to see on the team sheet now when it comes out. Or even today when he was coming on, I thought, that's great. We're gonna get back into this game. He's big, he's strong, and the fact that we got him over United is just a cherry on top as well. But I'm excited. I love him. I did love Núñez. Not that I don't love him anymore, but I think Gakpo's a special talent, and he can probably play a couple of positions in this team going forward. Neat and tidy as well. Just really, really good on the ball. Decision making. Maybe a game or two ago where he could have played people in. But that's going to come, obviously, the more and more he plays with the front three.
When we were watching him last week, Sean, he said something to me. He said, sometimes when the ball is played up to him, he kind of takes a touch backwards at times to protect the ball because he's just really good at it. Sean, he was saying to us, I'd love to see him chest that ball ahead of him and give defenders a bit more to think about. And I think that's something that, you know, I think it's a fair point, actually, when you watch him. He takes a ball in where his first thing is to protect it. And that's been brilliant for us because Firmino's done that for years. But I think Gakpo probably needs a little bit more belief in himself as a centre forward. That, yeah, you can link and you can keep the ball, but there is times where just chest the boy to our own minks and have a run at him. Chest the pass concept and see what happens. And there was a little bit of that at Villa. Listen, you know, there was so much of it, like, why aren't we signing a midfielder? We signed Cody Gakpo. I think he may end up being the most seamless of replacements for that famed front three that you're seeing. I think Diaz has come in, had a bad injury, he's come back. He hasn't been great since he come back, but you can see he's still trying to get back to fitness. He's still trying to get back into a rhythm, so I wouldn't worry about him at all. Because, like, honestly, before he got injured at this season, that was a massive blow, by the way. Because before that, he was flying, Diaz. Every time he got the ball, you thought he was going to do something. But just the attribute Gakpo has, that extra bit of pace, all right, and probably that extra bit of belief. I don't know what it is. I just think he might be the most seamless of the replacements for that famed front three, and I think he's been absolutely excellent for us. And you know what, that 6 months is going to absolutely stand for him for years. I think. He came in when we were poxy. You know what I mean? People were saying, "Oh, what's going on? Who was this fella?" But just seeing as Liverpool started to find a bit of form, he was really important in it, and he's probably been our best player since January. I think
Somebody
he's
said
up there.
there, I don't know who it was, it might have been Hughes. I'm just trying to, he's very intelligent. I think
Yeah.
he's really intelligent with the ball.
Yeah. Sorry, Sean P. Casey with a super chat. Thanks very much. He said, "Thanks, boys, for the dedication to the stream all this year. But I hope Gav gets a new porter for the summer. My porter is flying. Sean, you mind your own bleeding business." Keith, anything on Gakpo before we move on?
Yeah, do you remember when we signed him and he played 2 games and everyone, including Liverpool fans, were calling him Gakpo? That looks fucking stupid now, because it's the classic example. And look, I think, and I'm not lashing others out, because I think we were all sort of a bit like, Jesus, where's this? How does this lad fit into our style of play? He's been excellent. He's been absolutely brilliant. Someone said it in the chat there, I can't remember who it was, apologies, said he's so fast in his brain. You know what I mean? He maybe not look lightning quick over the ground, but he's so intelligent. He doesn't give the ball away, and it's a Dutch characteristic. It's been a Dutch characteristic since we were all kids. Control the ball, look after the ball, and it reminds me so much of Wijnaldum in the sense, obviously Genie done it from a deep opposition, but it used to be so hard to get the ball off Genie as well. And I think Gakpo going in there has given a real sense of safety with the ball, which we don't always have. Because if we compare him with Nunes, for example, and this isn't bashing Nunes, but Nunes is a raw player who's built on speed and running, and looks like he maybe doesn't have the intelligence with the ball, whereas Gakpo doesn't have the speed and the aggression that maybe Nunes has, but he's just a different type of player. He looks after it so much. Like, we were looking at him, I was with Alan Lawson at the match last week, and we're watching him and we're just like raving about him, just getting that ball. So clever. It's not spectacular. It's just clever play. It's just little bits, little drop here, a little turn, and he's away from pressure, and he's so strong. I look forward to seeing him. This has been an annus horribilis, a shy bag of a season. And the likes of Darwin has come in, and the likes of Gakpo has come in and been dropped into this crap. I can't wait to see him next season when he's playing. When hopefully we're back to a semblance of normality. I'm just so excited to see him playing. And like Emmet, when I seen him coming on today, I'm like, yep, lovely. We'll have a slice of this, because he just makes things happen. He's just so clever, and these players, they fly under the radar. Manchester United fans were bleeding all creaming themselves when he had 2 poor games for us. What would they give for him? Now they're going to go out and spunk money on someone else because they missed out on this lad. So look, I'm just delighted we got him, and I can't wait to see him next season.
7 goals, 3 assists since January is a decent.
Yeah,
return.
especially for what he came into.
In a team that's not performing.
Yeah.
In a team that's not performing.
What he came into was appalling, let's be honest about it. And it only started really playing from about March. Going to go around the table again. I'm going to start with Shawnee this time. One player you want to live, and this is looking forward to the summer and stuff like that, right? One player you would like Liverpool to sign this summer. Just one. That's all I want. Shawnee, one player you want to see at Liverpool this summer.
Manuel Ugarte.
Okay. Think it'll happen?
No.
Okay. Off to an absolute fire with this question.
PSG and Chelsea.
No, just
Eddie. Chelsea are on the bleeding on a go again.
Yeah, I think the problem with Ugarte is any fee from him's gonna have to be paid all up front, because it's a release clause. I don't know. The rumored Bellingham fee really fucking bothers me. To be honest with you. But we won't get into it because it just seems like it's flogging a dead horse now at this stage. But yeah, Ugarte, Caicedo, or 2 players I'd really like to see us bring in a number 6, someone defensive. I want us to be physical again next year, and that's not a slight on McAllister, because I think his potential signing can be really good for Liverpool, but we need a bit of fucking steel in the midfield again.
I think a lot of people have called for another proper 6, as they would call it, and then you'd have the conversation around Fabinho and Bajcetic as well. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad show. I'm with you. I don't see it happening though. I'm surprised Chelsea are off and running again, being linked with all this. Kev O'Sullivan says PSG strongly linked to Ugarte, want to go away from their star-studded model. Emma, one player you want to see at Liverpool next season?
I still want to say Bellingham. And the reason being is exactly what Seany said. If the fee that's been mooted from Real Madrid, like you'd have to
What
wonder
is it?
why. So they're
Right.
saying 86 million pounds and add-ons.
100
Now,
million
if you
euro.
believe the rumours, we offered 85 and
Million
add-ons.
pounds.
So, yeah. So where's the problem? Now, there's people that are saying, he's clearly turned us down. I'm not sure. I still think that we could still be his
You can
preferred
absolutely have him
destination.
if you want.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Like, and I just don't, and I don't like getting into all of the stuff that's going on with Vinicius. But why would you want to go and risk that in a league like that? And he's somebody that likes to get involved. Even yesterday, I said it, and someone said, no,
Yeah.
he's just after. They had a camera in his face after the game yesterday, but they had a camera in loads of players' faces, and he went over and pulled it down. Like, and he gets involved with cameras, he gets involved with crowds, and I just think it could go horribly wrong for him over there if he does not hit the ground running. And I still think there's possibly a chance that he comes to us if those are the figures. And if it's a case that they are the figures and it's wages that it's come down to, I think his family and him have probably made the first mistake in his career so far.
Dylan says Bellingham ain't happening, lads. Get over it. Olivier says they are saying his father is asking for agents' fees that are astronomical. 86 million up front, says Chris. What if Jude just turned us down? What if his dad wanted a lot more money? Let it go.
I thought we were giving his dad a job in the canteen or something.
Yeah, I thought he was getting a mixer. I thought he was getting a mixer already. But look, you can absolutely have Jude Bellingham. It doesn't mean it has to happen. Seany's gone for Ugarte there and you don't think it'll happen. Keith, one player you want to see at Liverpool next season?
I fully expect in the next 4 minutes that McAllister will be announced. So he's the one I want. But in all seriousness, I said a long time ago, I would love to get him and Caicedo. I think if you got him and Caicedo in... No, but Liverpool can have two. We're going for two.
No, I said to you one player.
Yeah, I'm going for McAllister. I'm going for McAllister. Seany went for Ugarte, but both of us have subtly dropped Caicedo into the equation as well here.
Right, so
I think the Brighton lads are, for me, from a long time back, I think they've just looked brilliant. I think I said it very early in the season that I'd have signed the trade, and when Moape was playing for them as well, and that poor fella's had to retire because of heart problems. I think when they battered United at the start of the season, and to me, you know, Seany's right, that physicality, we need that back in our midfield that Caicedo or Ugarte bring. And I definitely think we need that. But I just think Alexis McAllister will be, right, he's not going to be a Thiago, but I think he'll be a player that will move us up the pitch in the way Thiago does when he's on form. They're totally different player. I'm not comparing the two together. But I just think he's going to be a metronomic player in the midfield for Liverpool. He's going to be tidy. He's going to get the ball. He's going to move it. He's got a good range of passing. But his work rate is excellent. It's very underrated how hard he works. Even though he plays in a 10, he plays in an 8, he plays in a 6, he plays all the positions. He can play wide, not as a winger, but he can play on a flank as well at times. And I just think that he is going to be the first installment of the rebuild. And genuinely, I think they're going to announce it today. I think there's going to be, one of them Fabinho jobs. The season's over. Boom. Liverpool are strongly in talks or something with Brighton for the signing of Alexis McAllister.
De Zerbi said something like...
He said something along the line...
is already done.
Yeah, he said something along the lines of Caicedo and McAllister deserve to move on to a higher level than Brighton. That's just the way things are. We don't hold them back, and we have to look for different, cheaper options, I think was what the word he used, which basically means we sell them at big and we buy in at small, you know what I mean? And it's worked very well for them so far. But then again, if I was Brighton, I'd be looking to keep hold of one of them for at least one more season.
They'll just churn out other fuckers out. They've loads of them.
I know, but just to try push themselves on with that little bit of quality that's already there, it's less of a risk than bringing someone in that by all means you could sign for 5 million and they're worth 50 in 12 months time. But that's
Do you know what I like about McAllister? Do you know what I like about McAllister before we move on? He's such a humble player as well. Do you know what I mean? Like he's not a Billy Big Bollocks, and that I've seen from him, and that I've read from him. You know what I mean? He's a humble player. He's a hard working player, and I just think he fits the Jurgen Klopp style. I'm not saying Jude Bellingham isn't like Emmet was saying with the shite that went on, but I see he was linked with the likes of James Maddison. James Maddison's a good player, but he doesn't pass the smell test for me. And I just think everything about McAllister does. I've heard other people saying he's not quick enough, he's not this, that. Look, I think you get him into that team and he becomes a playmaker for you and he sets up attacks. I just think he'd be brilliant for us.
Look, we're going to be doing shows now, and we have got a winners and losers tomorrow. And then it'll be a lot of Liverpool update stuff. There'll be quizzes, there'll be drafts, there'll be transfer stuff. Whatever they'll just want to let us know, and we'll try to fit it in as the summer goes on.
Predictions revealed as well.
Yeah, you have all the predictions as well. We might do that next weekend. But look, when it comes to the summer, Liverpool, we always try to keep you up to date with all the news, the transfer stuff, and have a laugh. Because there's no football on. Have a bleeding laugh for a couple of months. It's so much more easy going before we start getting into the business end of things early August. I just want one word area, okay? One word on this last question. A player currently in the Liverpool side that you really look forward to seeing next season. You've big things for next season. Just the player's name, and we leave it at that because I want to do a show maybe next week on this. But Emma, I'll start with you first.
I'm between Núñez and Diaz. I'll go Diaz.
Nice. Keith.
I'll go Núñez.
Cool. Shawnee.
Trent.
Okay, good stuff. Diaz, Núñez, Trent. I would have went Núñez as well. I have a really good feeling on Darwin Núñez, but we'll talk about it as the summer goes on. Listen, the link is in the description.
As long as he does his English grinds over the summer, we should be grand.
Yeah. Loads of names coming in there. Gakpo says Jared Williams. Red Steve says Doak. Leon says Jones. Dylan says Núñez. Zupdog says Diaz. Jake says Allison. We'll see how it goes. But there's a show I kind of have in my head that I want to a little bit of a prediction show I want to do in the next week.
Antoango says Arthur Mello. We'll be playing against him for Road of Volgograd in the UEFA Cup at some stage.
But look, the link is in the description for the charity. As I said at the start of it, when Keith was questioning me about how my weekend was going, the girls have put in massive work this weekend and have been for weeks setting it all up. They got the reward yesterday, raised nearly €8,000 towards the 20,000 total. Our golf day is in 2 weeks, and even at that day yesterday, people came across me and went, "Oh, listen, stick us down for a sponsorship and stuff like that." So we're down to about, I think there's 4 sponsorship slots left. Their price are €100 each. If you want to help us out, you can do lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com, and we will take that sponsorship off you and put it towards the total. We're hoping to hit somewhere around 4,000 on the day, which would mean then we'd be nearly 3/4 of the way through the target come the end of the golf day in a couple of weeks. So if you can donate, the link is in the description. lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com if you would like to sponsor, and we have about 4 of them left, as I said. If you want to help out with some prizes by sending us some prizes, you can do that, lfcdaytrippers@gmail.com, or you want to just send us money and we'll buy the prizes, we're also able to do that as well. We're going to get to the 20 grand. We always stick at it until we get to that target, and the girls have put in some effort. There's even more going to be going on over the next little while, and of course in between all that they're training to run 26.2 miles, which is just off the rocker. Gav, do we now have to watch will you miss putts on the green on the golf channel for 2 months now with no football? Yeah, you'll be watching loads of bang average golf. I'm making more putts though, but we'll also have loads on this channel as well. You know ourselves, we always go through the summer. We always bring as many shows as we can. We always try to have a laugh, and that's what we're going to be doing for the summer. If you don't like drafts and you don't like quizzes, don't watch it. It's grand. We're only doing it to have a laugh anyway. If you do like it, like, share, all that sort of stuff. Hit the like button on your way out. That helps us as well. Shawnee, anything else before we go?
No, all good. Pleasure again doing the majority of the Sunday nights with the crew. Fair play to the likes of Kev and Chris as well, who show up, and Matt as well, who show up week in, week out doing shows, and all the work you put in behind the scenes. It's fucking colossal. I think we actually spoke about this last week when you weren't around, to be honest with you. Not to give you a big head, but it's fucking, it's massive work. It's massive work that goes into this, and very selfless as well. But the amount of charities and all that's brought in, but I love doing this with the lads. I love the names in the chat. I love the community that we have. It's not like many other fucking channels on YouTube. And I'm glad in that sense, because we don't come on here and push hyperbole or a lot of bollocks. There's no agendas. We just come on and kind of say how we feel. So, another season where, look, I've enjoyed other seasons more, but to be honest with you, it's great to come on here and do this every week with you and the lads. And last week was sort of a culmination of it all. So, I'm looking forward to a little bit of a step away from all the shit, although I know it's going to ramp up now with the silly season and the transfer stuff. But I'm sure we'll have a bit of crack throughout the summer with drafts and quizzes that are rigged.
You don't do them,
so
though.
I don't.
You don't. Johnny'd be like, fuck off, I'm not doing them.
No, I'm looking forward, to be honest, we have a bit of crack with it and all. And I know we do other shows like around World Cup and just plain bollocks really that we talk. But no, I'm looking forward to it. A nice little break. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Oh, Rob Keats' punchline there, I like it.
That's fine.
Emma.
That's a communal punchline. Okay.
As a non-gambling man. Emma.
Roll the dice.
Emma, anything else before we go?
No, I just echo everything that Shawnee said. I don't think as a club Liverpool had the greatest of seasons, but I think the LFC Daytrippers had a great season. It's my first full season. I got more minutes than Arthur Mello, so I'm happy enough with that. But I like what Johnny said last week was absolutely brilliant, and we did talk about you while you weren't there, and all the hard work you put in. And I know you don't like taking credit for it, but Shawnee's right. The people that are in the chat that are always there, they were there earlier on at Full Time Reds with the lads, and they're here again this evening. It's the best decision you ever made me make, was to come onto a podcast, and I look forward to it as much every week, regardless of the result. I know we joke and say that we're sick and we have a scratchy throat and we have to come on. But,
the amount of times you tried to get out of Sunday night. Oh my God.
But I have to say I enjoy it immensely. So thanks to you and thanks to the lads.
No problem. Keith, anything else before we go? What are you listening to this week?
Yeah, just we'll keep on the Gav Love in here, and
I fucking hate this.
I know you do, and that's why we're gonna do it. So fuck it. But no, it is true. Shawnee said something last week about people doing things for money and all that, and what we do on here is just lads. We say it all the time. It's like being in the pub, and we had our last weekend in Liverpool. And Alan Austin said earlier his highlight of the season was last weekend in Liverpool, and that's the way we all feel. We're not know-it-alls, we're not experts, we're just lads who talk about football, but the amount of work that you do on the back for very little reward. Mother Teresa got paid more for helping lepers in fucking Calcutta than what you get for
I
doing
think she
these
should
shows.
get more for helping lepers, to be fair.
The amount of work, the point is, the amount of work that you
There's
do
her over there
goes...
just helping lepers and getting more. I don't think that's worked out well there, Keith.
Well, I don't think she was in it for the bread, I think it was more a voluntary thing. But I just think, people assume, that you're living the high life off this, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's just, we do it for the love of just coming on and talking, and there's no ego. There's loads of egos, but not real egos. And as the boys said, it's not just us four on the screen. It's the lads that are doing the full-time shows. Jesus Christ, that's been a slog this year. It's been anybody that's come on. It's been people that in the chat. It's been everything. But, you know, the amount of work, the charity stuff that's been going on, it's all pushed by you, Gav. So, look, big round of applause to you. Forget about what I'm listening to music-wise. I think this is your...
I'm a bit upset now.
Throw the rose petals at you.
I'm a bit upset that I don't know what you're listening to this week, because every time you tell me, I go up and listen to a bit of it. And
it has to be a bit of Tina Turner.
Tina Turner, yeah. There's been fucking loads of Tina Turner all week. Nutbush City on repeat.
Did you take a day out walk tomorrow?
It was, I did, I did. Now, do you know who I'm listening to all week? And Alan Lawson again, threw her on in Liverpool. John Holt, 1,000 volts of Holt all week in the sun, lashing the old reggae out of it. If you don't get on that, that is absolutely sensational, gear.
Just saying as well, Gav. I have another goal for next season. Antoine got put in the chat there that I absolutely hate you. I'm going to pursue the angle now where it makes it. I'm actually going to trying to convince people as much as possible that I genuinely do hate you. And that we don't spend 2 to 3 hours a night talking to each other after podcast.
We could literally turn it around where like these two pricks just spend an hour with each other on a Sunday and then fucking ignore each other for the rest of the week. Which is like, the funny thing is, right, couldn't be more of the truth, but
like Phil and Holly, we are.
Oh, fuck that. You can be Phil. No, look, it's not been a good season for Liverpool. It's been a bang average season, to be honest with you. It's one way. I didn't actually mean that. I'm just so used to fucking saying it. But it was one where it started off optimism, cautious optimism. It hasn't worked out. Liverpool will get better. I trust Jurgen Klopp with every sinew of me. Trust Jurgen Klopp to get it right. I think he's learned, massively this season as to what a squad can and can't do and what he needs. And I'm hoping the owners have learned as well. And between them all, they get these things right, and we see a couple of signings early in the window. We go into next season going, do you know what? We needed 4 and we got 4, and we're happy with the 4. With regards to this podcast, we were away last week. We had the fucking best time. And look, you know what? We went and we drank and we ate and we drank and we fucking watched the match and we great times and used met Firmino and all that. But the biggest thing about it for the weekend was there was a load of us and there wasn't a crossword. There was no kind of, I want to go here, I want to go there. People just go, we go there, and everyone just went, yeah. And whatever was suggested, we just went. Like Shawnee had me eating bleeding scrambled eggs and chorizo off 2 rock hard bits of bread, and it was fucking great. I even enjoyed that, and that's not me, you know what I mean? And I went into this place, and I was like, what is this fucking place? And Shawnee's sitting there like a pig in shite, and I ate it, and it was lovely, and like even things like that, it's just the real easy going of it. Listen, we do these shows every week. The lads that do the full time, Red, I think they're the stars of this season. I'm being honest with you, because that's so fucking hard to do when the season's not good. So Chris, Matt, and Kev have been absolutely excellent this season. Yeah, I work a lot, but it's my job. Like I do. Like people think, you do a lot. It's my job. Do I earn loads of money from it? Fuck no. And I give most of it away, to be quite honest with you, right? But it's my job. I love doing my job. I love Liverpool. I love everything about it. But the lads you deal with, the people in the group, the people in the chat, the people in the Telegram, I love all that as much. I really do. It's just, it gets you through days when like Red Steve fucking hates me, right? And never stops, but I love him for it. Do you know what I mean? So things like that, people in the chat just constantly ask me, is there a show tonight? When they fucking know if there's a show or not. Just things like that, as much as it annoys me at times, I love it. I love every minute of it. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this season. Like I said, when this summer comes, which is starting from Tuesday, there'll be loads of transfer stuff, there'll be loads of updates, we'll have quizzes, we'll have drafts, whatever we can think of, or whatever you can think of, throw it at us and we'll do it for you if we can. And then we'll get back into next season. We'll come back next season with Liverpool related stuff, bigger and better, hopefully, but as consistent as we've been, because there's bigger channels out there. People can scream and shout, we don't, but I love the consistency of it. I love the fact that the people we have doing it love doing it, the people that watch every single time and love commenting as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure. So from me, Emma, Keith, Shawnee, everyone, that's contributed to the LFC Daytrippers this season. Thanks a million to every one of you that have watched, listened, given us a like, subscribed, done a, giving us a review, whatever it might be. We thank you for that, because if you weren't here, it'd be just four of us sitting in the pub. We'd be alcoholics, we'd be all single, and we'd all be wearing Wranglers with fucking piss stains and all, to be honest with you. So that has been
Liverpool last week.
well, it's only on the plane home. That has been the Fatback 4. Thanks a million for watching. Talk to you in a bit. Over it now.